Hi everybody, Brian Von VA here, and I just wanted to say one thing before we jumped right on in. Me, MrRipper, and the team all are happy to say that we have hit 200,000 subscribers. Yeah, of course, we hit it long before this video is going to even go out, but I wanted to say something here because I thought everybody out there, boys, girls, and everyone in between, deserved to know that we acknowledge all of you, and we love all of you for it. And there's a lot of good things coming, so stay tuned for all of that. Until then, what was the best way you saw a DM shut down that player? Part 4. Oh, I've got a hell of a good one, but beware, this one might be long. That's what she said. So me and my party were doing a completely homebrew campaign written by my DM and myself, and we arrived at a dwarven town where my tiefling berserker got into a bar fight, and our cleric kicked ass at karaoke to the tune of our bard shredding in a magical electric guitar. The party consists of myself as the primary DPS, a cleric, a rogue, a bard, a fighter, and that guy. That guy has 3 goddamn characters. First, his normal form, a half-tiefling human with fire magic and passive battle regeneration, as well as proficiency in all manner of combat. Here we go. In addition, he has 2 different creatures inside of him that he can choose to become at will. A violent, overpowered Baylor, and an immortal angel. Note, that guy during every encounter or cutscene had to make it about himself like he was the main character. Unsurprisingly, he is also very much the stereotype of attack first, ask questions never. This will be very important very shortly. Anyways, outside the bar, the DM described a thunderous boom and a flare of red light. We go outside and see a large black rock surrounded by a purple mist. The meteor landed on a small group of people, so the surrounding area was covered in blood. As we walked up to the meteor to investigate, that guy runs up and slashes at the meteor with his sword, for some reason completely unknown to us. The DM begins to laugh and describes how the meteor split open, and a shadow spilled out of the crack. Unbeknownst to him, that guy had just unleashed a monster the DM designed specifically to kill his character. This was a primordial shadow demon with complete physical and magical immunity. That guy runs up and tries to slash it, to no avail. He turns into his demon form and keeps trying to attack it. As he's getting his ass kicked, we all collectively agree to not step in because it appears to be completely invulnerable. Eventually, the monster slashes at that guy with its claws, instantly putting him to 7 HP. So, that guy switches to his angel form and is immediately eaten by the monster and spat out in his human form, the monster having completely absorbed the immortal angel. That guy begins to freak out and turns back into the Baylor to send out his strongest attacks, but obviously, nothing happens. That guy's character has a special quirk though. If his human form dies, his other creatures come out and have 2 hours to find a living host to possess before they completely die. So, that guy's human form dies. The shadow monster escapes, leaving that guy's Baylor completely distressed. So he attempts to possess a fucking dwarf guard captain and gets us all arrested. One very long interrogation and prison fight later, Baylor possesses a rat and starts hitting on our cleric. So my tiefling, who is married to said cleric, grabs the rat and takes him into the forest where he crushes it, and it explodes into a colossal pillar of fire, completely annihilating that guy's character. This is a very powerful and costly homebrew ability my character has. Sorry for the long story, this was just too priceless to not mention. He threw a tantrum and started screaming and pointing fingers. It was so funny. The DM just told him to get out and not come back. I mean, honestly, could have been avoided if you just would have told him to piss off way earlier in the campaign, but this was a good send-off to an otherwise crappy character. Decent concept, though. Before we continue with the video, let's talk about the Eternium. These fantasy playing cards are a clash of titanic elements such as sea monsters combined with the beauty and power of fire, or the horrors of the undead fused with medieval punk styles. These playing cards are printed on a high-quality 310-gram black core paper with artwork done by the amazing Eddie Whipple. You have 3 mystical decks to choose from: the Dawn, the Dusk, and dead center a fusion called the Twilight. These also feature your standard 2 to ace playing cards flavored within 4 unique fantasy races: the Bastions, the Restless, the Abyssals, and the Imperium. And by the way, there will only be 1,000 decks in production, not a single deck more. You can also purchase their limited edition coins too, which come in a variety of colors like bronze, copper, and silver, as well as the Black Noir coin, which will be limited to only 100 units and not a single unit more. With all of that said and done, if you're into dark fantasy like you've never seen before with beautiful artwork, check out the Eternium. Links are in the description below. Back in college, we had a D&D club that would frequently run one-shots to teach new people how to play and to provide games for people who just want to hang out and have fun. I would later be the treasurer of this club, but that's a different story. This is a story about one such one-shot where we had a relatively new player, or at least one I'd never seen before, at the table. It was a simple mission: kill a group of goblins terrorizing a village. I enjoy the plane shift stuff that crosses over with Magic the Gathering, because, well, I play that a lot. So I talked with the DM, and she let me play a Naga from plane shift Amonkhet. And I was a neutral evil sorcerer. The new player was playing a lawful, good human paladin. And I can't rightly remember what everyone else was playing, but it's not important to the story. I can't remember what he was doing, but the paladin got separated from the party for a bit while we went to handle the goblins. And during that time, my sorcerer ended up crushing the tribe leader's skull in his fangs and declared himself the new leader of the tribe, which is when we found out about a second tribe on the other side of the village. That's when he had the idea to sick them on each other and then finish off the rest once one side was wiped out. So he started putting that into motion. He didn't want to do all of this effort without getting paid though. So he went into the village with the corpse of the chief goblin to prove the tribe was wiped out, then bargain for extra gold when we kill the extra tribe. This is when the paladin regrouped and saw my character, covered in blood, at 2 HP, dragging the corpse of one of the goblins he knew was terrorizing the village. That was when he did what any reasonable paladin would do and tried to kill me immediately because I had a corpse. So I was obviously evil, which was half true, but not to that degree. Now, the DM, who has no tolerance for bullshit, has the town guard attack and kill him, saying he can bring a new character in if he wants to keep playing. Ooh, the new character he decides to bring in, however, is literally the exact same character, but his younger brother, and he walks up after the guards left. My character was still standing somewhat near the corpse of his last character, and he immediately says, "That person killed my brother. I have to avenge him." And he immediately tries to kill me. Again. This is when the DM God Smites happen, where his character literally gets smitten by his god. And he then has to explain himself to them. Not only does he try rolling deception checks against his own deity, but then he tries to pledge loyalty to any deity who would get him out of this situation, which goes just about as well as you could expect. And he didn't play for the rest of the session. Yeah, people like that, if he was a younger person, I would just sit him down and teach him, this is not the right way to play the game, sonny. And if he was an older person, I'd say, you shouldn't be playing this game if you have this much of an attitude problem. In our old high school game, we had 2 players who could just not get along. They were constantly arguing in and out of character, and their loud squabbling got on everyone's nerves. Ugh. Our DM put a curse on them that merged their characters into one body. The merged body could only act if they both agreed on what they should do. Otherwise, they just stood there. Eventually, they learned to work together out of necessity. Honestly, that's a brilliant way to handle an otherwise really crappy situation. In this case, it wasn't a DM handling, but a player, me. We had a group of players that was half adults and half teenagers. This can't go well. One of the teens got fixated on saying fist instead of punching. He was playing a monk. This is the group that has my horny bard, who would be that character, but all hanky-panky is handled by saying, "You have a fun time," by mutual decision of me and the DM. The monk player was constantly saying, "I fist them." The other teens were asking him to stop. He's a Way of Mercy monk, and my bard went down. He said, I fist the bard to heal him. My bard replied on waking up, half-orcs do it better. Well, he stopped saying fist. Also, this gets kinda creepy if they're teenagers and you're an adult. I don't know about this one, boss. I was that guy. This was one of the first sessions of D&D I had ever played, and our party had split. So it was my dwarf warlock, a human rogue, and a kobold. Our group had to go get the help of an island populated fully by assassins against an invading force or something of the sort. It's been a few years. The leader of the island was an elven man who was, in my opinion, being very rude, though that might have been clouded by my knowledge that elves and dwarves don't normally get along. You're not wrong. Anywho, it came to a head when my dwarf finally spoke up and called the elven assassin out on his rudeness. He responded with, "Oh, please, don't oversell yourself. My men train from a young age to be the best they can be. Why, I bet even my daughter could defeat you." My dwarf, stubborn as he was, decided to take him up on that. Needless to say, the dwarf lost with just 10 HP left, with the only time he caused any damage being AoE effect on a fireball. I still play with that group, but the campaign fizzled out after that incident. So now I'm an Earth Genasi barbarian. But yeah, since that trouncing by a 7-year-old, my dwarf is now known across the land for his stupidity and stubbornness. That wasn't actually a that guy moment, that was your dwarf being in character as a dwarf, and I'm really proud of you for playing that through. In my party, I had a rogue who would steal anything from anyone. His attempts to steal always took lots of time and got the party off track. So one session I baited him by saying there was an old blind lady, a hag, who was wearing lots of copper jewelry and had lots of copper coins on her. They had seen and heard several stories around town about her too. When the party finally ran into her in the town pub, the rogue asked about what seemed to be the most valuable thing this old lady owned. I asked him to make an investigation and an arcana check. He only passed the investigation. I told him she seems to have a small dagger at her side. The dagger is made entirely of copper, and the words, "Turn all that is to riches," are engraved on it. You can feel some magical power coming from the dagger. Well, the rogue stole the dagger. The next morning, he discovered that the dagger was cursed. Every metal thing he touched turned to copper, and he slowly began to age as the day went on. He went back to the old lady. She was hard to find as she had become young and beautiful again. She informed him the only way to get the curse lifted was to have someone steal the dagger away from you. Stealing the dagger would also steal the curse. By this time, the rogue's gold and weapons had all turned to copper. Now I ruled that any weapon made of copper would break if it rolled the max damage on a damage dice. He kept this curse for 2 sessions before managing to fool another rogue into stealing it from him. At one point, he did use the curse to turn an enemy's armor from steel to copper, which drastically lowered the AC of the bad guy. So at least there's that. Again, doesn't seem to be more of a that guy moment, more so a Klepto Maniac who doesn't know when to stop. I do have a That DM story to retell from a friend back from when D&D 3.5 was the latest thing. Story from a long time ago, originally told by a friend I haven't seen in over a decade, so expect paraphrasing. This is at the very start of the campaign, rolling the character's stats. While my friend and 2 of the other players are considering what to do with their characters, the last player asked the DM, "Any chance I could get a reroll on my character?" The DM replies with, "No, whatever you roll is what you get." Normally I'd be fine with that, but you might want to make an exception for this. The player says and shows the DM his rolls. The DM looks at the numbers and shrugs. Sucks to be you. The player lays the sheet down in the middle of the table and starts gathering up all his gaming stuff. "I'm out, y'all. Hopefully I'll get to play with you with a less unreasonable DM sometime." Then he's out the door. There's kind of a stunned silence for a few moments. Everyone was just staring at the door closing behind him, and then my friend reaches over and picks up the character sheet he left behind. "Dude, his highest roll was a 9. Again, the DM shrugs and says, "Yeah, and?" My friend stands up, shoves his dice into his pocket, and crumples up his character sheet. "Screw this. and then he heads for the door. One of the other guys stands up, picking up his stuff, and says, "Well, if he's out, I'm out. He's my ride here." The last thing my friend heard from that aborted session before the door closed was the last player saying, "Ah, hell no, I am not soloing this." From what my friend said, a few years after that debacle, the DM still thought he was in the right and the players were all being unreasonable. Listen, buddy, the DM is actually here specifically to make the game fun for the players. If you're trying to battle the players like that, you're literally doing nothing but making the game worse. Thank you for nothing. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Of course, leave a comment down below letting us know the best way a DM has shut down that player in your campaign. And of course, if you'd like to keep up the 200,000 sub hype, please continue to spread us around all over the internet and let us know where and when you found us. We love you all, and we're very grateful to be here. May we be here for many years to come, giving you all the D&D stories that we can find. Toodaloo, everybody. We'll see you later.